This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Friday the 24th day of July in the year 2020. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. Chief Election Officer of the Guyana Elections Commission, Keith Lowenfield, appeared in court this morning before Magistrate Faith Magasti to face the indictable private criminal charges filed against him by a member of the People's Progressive Party, Desmond Morian, and a member of the New Movement Party, Josh Kanai. The private charges were filed after Lowenfield compiled a report on the elections and submitted that report to the Elections Commission chair. That report has since been thrown out by the Caribbean Court of Justice. In court today, he faced charges of conspiracy to commit a felony and the charge of misconduct in public office. He was granted bail in the sum of $450,000. Lowenfield, who did not offer any comment during his arrival or departure from the courthouse, is being represented by senior counsel Neil Boston, attorney Nigel Hughes, and others. Attorney Nigel Hughes said it is clear that the attorneys on the other side are trying to turn the court into a forum for a political battle against the chief election officer.
Mr. Hanneman said he had no objections to bail, but then proceeded to make a series of what I would consider political statements, suggesting that somehow or the other Mr. Lowenfield was going to remove official documents from GECOM, to which we took strenuous objections. One of the concerns that we had in the court, that we repeatedly expressed to the court, was the fact that we did not want the court to become a forum for a political battle, and there were sufficiently senior lawyers who were present to keep this within the confines of the law.
Mr. Hughes said when it was time to set a date for the start of the hearing, the attorney Glenn Hanneman indicated that he was putting together 800 statements for the case and needed at least a month to prepare. Hughes objected and said since the charges were private, then Hanneman and his clients should have been prepared to move the process forward. The magistrate has set the 14th of August as the next date for the hearing.
After bail had been granted, Mr. Hanneman indicated that he had 800 statements to take from various witnesses. We, of course, naturally had an objection to that because we thought that if he had taken the time to bring the charges, he would be ready and prepared to start. He asked for an adjournment that was a month away. The court, however, granted an adjournment to mid-August for him to produce whatever statements that he has. It is evident to us at this point in time, one, that they are not ready. Two, if they have the concerns they say they have, even though not objecting to bail, that those concerns should have been raised with the Guyana Police Force and any appropriate law enforcement agency. Our real concern is that they're attempting to take a court of law and make it into a political circus.
Attorney Hughes also told reporters that Hanneman even made an attempt to list the lead counsel for the chief election officer as one of the witnesses, but that attempt failed.
Mr. Hanneman, literally 2 minutes before the court was convened, had a very casual professional discussion with myself and Mr. Boston, where he indicated that he wanted to call Mr. Boston as a witness for the prosecution. He then went into the court and indicated to the court, after Mr. Boston had entered an appearance as lead of the team, that he was objecting to Mr. Boston because he intended to call him as a witness. Naturally, we had very strenuous objections to this because normally what we would do is you would have statements from your witnesses long in advance. You would have at least have the courtesy of contacting him beforehand. And I think the ploy was disclosed for what it was. He was attempting to get Mr. Boston off of the case. He was attempting to gain some level of mileage, I believe, in your area of business, the media, by suggesting that he was going to call Mr. Boston. Mr. Boston got up, defended himself, and maybe Mr. Hanneman has forgotten that the privilege that Mr. Lowenfield enjoys as a client of Mr. Boston is his. And if Mr. Lowenfield does not release Mr. Boston, there's no way he can possibly become a witness for the state.
Outside the courthouse, a group of APNU AFC supporters chanted their disapproval of the charges against the chief election officer. Many of them said the complaint and hearing were both making a mockery of the justice system and was also attacking the chief election officer for doing his job. More news coming up in a moment.
Tired of long lines? Register with MyGTT at mygtt.co.gy. That's mygtt.co.gy to view and pay your bills from anywhere. Enter to win an Amazon gift card worth $25 or a bounty voucher worth 5,000 Guyana dollars when you sign up today. GTT, do more.
The following is an important message from the Ministry of Public Health. You can prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. If you have the following symptoms: coughing, fever, or difficulty breathing, please stay home. If you don't have these symptoms, then practice social distancing. Avoid crowds. When in a group, keep a distance of at least 3 feet between yourself and other persons. Please wash your hands with soap regularly or use hand sanitizers. The Ministry of Public Health has a hotline to provide information on the coronavirus. Members of the public can call 227-4986 or 624-3067.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes. Hello, boys and girls. As you prepare to write your exams, there are a few things you will have to do each day so that you and those around you can be safe and healthy. Please remember, on the day of your exam, you must wear a mask correctly, covering your mouth and nose before entering the school compound. Wash your hands with soap and water at the entrance of the school at the sink provided for 20 seconds. Paying attention to the palm and back of your hands, between your fingers and their tips. Dry your hands with a clean tissue and dispose in the closed bin nearby. Boys and girls, your temperature will be tested by an official. Then you will go to the designated waiting area with the floor signs and markings clearly visible, standing or sitting 2 meters or 6 feet apart at all times. It is now time to start your exam. The invigilator will direct you to the examination room. All the best. Boys and girls, playing and gathering are not allowed. Parents, the Ministry of Education thanks you for the support you have given the children during the time at home. However, in the interest of everyone's well-being, you will not be allowed to enter the school compound. Parents and guardians, we are counting on your support in picking up the children promptly after their exam. Remember, the Ministry of Education will provide transport for children who are living far away that require that assistance. Please be reminded that vending outside the school's compound is prohibited. Only authorized canteen vendors with a copy of their food handler certificate and wearing a mask, food gloves, apron, hairnet, and a hat will be allowed. Always remember to wear your mask correctly, wash your hands, and stay safe. And let's win the fight against COVID-19. A message from the Ministry of Education.
Welcome back. Guyana has recorded one more death and one more case of the coronavirus in the past 24 hours. The person passed away on Monday, but the results which were taken after the death became available today. While not releasing any details on the 20th person to die from the virus in Guyana, the Ministry of Public Health revealed today that there are now 154 active cases, with 4 of those persons in the COVID-19 intensive care unit. The number of recoveries stand at 176.
As of the 24th of July 2020, the number of positives is now 352, with 20 COVID-related deaths. The number of active cases in institutional isolation is 154. 33 persons are in institutional quarantine, and 4 persons are in the COVID ICU. To date, 178 persons have recovered.
There continues to be worry about the situation in the interior region, where cases have been climbing steadily. In Maruca, in Region 1, the authorities there have reported that almost half of that community's 100 cases have made full recoveries. In Region 9, village leaders are concerned about the illegal crossings from neighboring Brazil, and in many instances, the Brazilians are being supported by Guyanese in the area. In the coming week, more local businesses and government offices will be reopening their doors. The Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Karen Gordon Boyle, has been offering some advice on a safer work environment.
So as far as ventilation is concerned, employers should increase exhaust rates from AC, increase airflow from outside if possible, reduce or eliminate the recycling of air, service filters more frequently, reconsider policies regarding daily shutting down of AC where they are the only source of ventilation. Regarding sanitation notes, provide tissues to dry hands, provide soap, water, sanitizer, that should be liquid soap, water, sanitizers in generous quantities. Ensure nodes have posters with hand washing techniques. Educate on hygiene measures for coughing or sneezing. As far as surfaces are concerned, prioritize the hourly cleaning of rails and doorknobs. Clean handsets of multi-user telephones. Adopt single-user keyboard policies. Cleaners must be provided with gloves, in addition to disinfectants. Enhanced cleaning must be done in spaces where ill persons would have been working.
The first case of coronavirus in Guyana was recorded back in March. More than 350 cases have been recorded since then. Turning now to the oil sector, the head of the Department of Energy, Dr. Mark Bino, has announced that Guyana will lift its third 1 million barrels of oil in early August as oil production continues. In an interview with the Department of Public Information, Dr. Bino said the Energy Department is pleased with the Shell company, which has been responsible for the marketing of Guyana's oil shipment. He said systems are moving in preparation for that third lift.
Guyana's third lift, under the current arrangement with Shell, is expected on the first week of August. We are currently at the department putting the necessary arrangements in place, such as document instructions, nomination of the vessel, and getting up the requisite paperwork to make this happen. We are very pleased with the relationship that we have had with Shell thus far, and I think the Guyanese people can be well pleased that they have seen resources being deposited into the Natural Resource Fund, and we trust that those will ultimately be utilized for the benefit of all Guyanese.
The third lift was expected at the end of this month, but there were some issues with the preparation for that lift. Those issues have since been rectified by the oil company. Guyana started oil production back in December, and the country lifted its first 1 million barrels of oil in February of this year. Already the country has earned $100 million from the first two shipments and more than $4 million in royalties from the Exxon company sales. Oral arguments in the appeal of the Chief Justice's ruling of the Musinga Jones election case are set to take place from tomorrow morning before appeal justices Don Gregory, Rishi Prasad, and Priya Bihari. The attorneys for the appellants are holding firm to their position that the Chief Justice erred in her ruling by deciding that the recount order was valid and votes from the recount should be used for the final declaration of the elections. In written submissions, the attorneys maintain that Order Number 60 is invalid and is of no effect. They contend that their client's challenge to Section 22 of the elections laws is not one seeking declarations as to the validity of the elections, but rather it is a challenge to the breach of the legal process or procedure for the conduct of the 2nd of March elections. The position of the appellant is that the Elections Commission breached the election laws itself by bringing the recount order into force. The attorneys believe that GECOM further wants the Chief Election Officer to breach the law by directing him to use the votes from the recount to compile his final report. The number 2 respondent in the matter is the chairperson of the Elections Commission, retired Justice Claudette Singh. She is being represented by attorney Kim Kite Thomas. Kite Thomas has been arguing that a recount order is valid and therefore the Chief Justice's ruling ought to be supported by the Court of Appeal. She believes that the entire appeal should be dismissed. Kite Thomas in her written submissions has indicated that many of the issues raised in the current appeal have been raised in 2 other election cases that were already addressed by the courts. She's of the firm belief that the appeal lacks merit, and she also believes that any complaints of issues about the validity of the elections ought to be dealt with in an election petition after a declaration of the results. The hearing is set to begin at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning with a strict time schedule. The court has indicated that by the end of the oral arguments, it will be in a position to indicate a date for its decision. The Private Sector Commission is calling on the Police Commissioner to investigate and file charges against persons who have been using Facebook to issue threats against the chairperson of the Guyana Elections Commission. In a statement today, the PSC said it has observed the increasing abuse and threats appearing on Facebook pages. The body, which has Captain Jerry Gavaya as its current chairman, believes many of the threats are related to the recent calls by the GECOM chair for the Chief Election Officer to compile a final report of the elections. But with the matter currently before the courts, GECOM has put a hold on its work. Just recently, a man from Linden was charged for using a fake social media page to issue threats against the GECOM chair. The Private Sector Commission has been relatively silent on similar social media threats and abuses against other officials of the Elections Commission. Across the region is coming up next.
We give thanks for real. You spend all that money on your watch. How much time you spend with your son? So much money in the club. How much you spend with the ones you love? The simple things are your blessings.
Cheese, please. Remember Tyrus Riley, this one we aim to please. The music will never ease. Cheese, please.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
They've made a positive impact on the heavy-duty transportation industry in Guyana since they've arrived. Guyanese are amazed at their power, durability, efficiency, and superior handling capabilities. These are brand new trucks, manufactured in partnership with German, Italian, and French companies. They have a powerful reputation for operating under very adverse Guyanese conditions and come with full after-sales service and spare parts. They're the most sought-after trucks today, with over 500 units in Guyana, and they're available in over 100 countries, including South America and the Caribbean. Be smart. Buy brand new ST Howo trucks today. Call 608-4998 and arrange for an inspection at ST Truck Guyana Incorporated, Block B, Public Road, Covenant, East Bank, Demerara.
Are you washing your hands correctly? Here are some tips on when and how to wash your hands. Step 1. Wet your hands with clean water. Step 2. Then apply soap. Step 3. For 10 to 15 seconds, lather your palms together. Always remember to pay attention to your fingers, especially your nails and tips. And don't forget the back and between of your fingers. Step 4. Rinse hands with clean water for about 20 seconds. Step 5. Dry hands with a clean paper towel or tissue.
But when should you wash your hands? After using the toilet, before and after eating, preparing or handling uncooked food, after playing with pets or caring for animals, after sneezing and coughing or blowing your nose, before and after changing babies or caring for others.
Frequent hand washing or using a hand sanitizer with alcohol as an alternative will remove viruses and bacteria from your hands.
A message from the Ministry of Public Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Across the region right now, the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association says it is developing a strategic development plan to assist the sector to become more innovative in wake of the coronavirus pandemic. The newly elected president of the association said Dominica must be able to compete with the rest of the world in attracting visitors. He said a new executive of the association would need to establish the strategic plan because they really want to be helping the membership to be innovative in the redevelopment of tourism. That will be necessary because everyone in the world, he said, is now competing for the international visitor, and Dominica will have to be creative in its offer. He said the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association had prepared earlier this year a digital guidebook titled Experience Dominica, an application that could be loaded on mobile phones and promoted to all visitors. They'll be looking now to develop that application. Bolivia has postponed its general election over fears that a planned date could coincide with a possible peak in infections of coronavirus. Officials said the election has now been scheduled for the 18th of October. It is the second time that a vote has been postponed due to the pandemic. It was originally scheduled for May but was pushed back to September due to lockdown measures. Medical experts have warned that infections in the country could peak at the end of August or the beginning of September. Bolivia's interim president Jenny Enes tested positive for the virus 2 weeks ago. The country has recorded 2,407 deaths and more than 65,000 cases of the coronavirus. And finally tonight, international news. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has admitted that his government did not understand the coronavirus during the first weeks and months of the UK outbreak. The Prime Minister told the BBC political editor that there were very open questions about whether the lockdown had started too late. Prime Minister Johnson also spoke of lessons to be learned and said ministers could have done some things differently. The opposition in the UK has accused the government of mishandling the crisis. More than 45,000 persons in the UK have died after testing positive for the coronavirus, with almost 300,000 confirmed cases. Last week, Mr. Johnson promised an independent inquiry into the pandemic, but no details have been given on the scope or timing of that independent inquiry. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.